Hello. Um, I was very lucky coming out of college because I was able to secure a high school teaching job right away. And if you're not in education, that's kind of a hard thing to do. It doesn't happen very often. But I lucked out and I got a job when I was 21 years old at a high school part time teacher that eventually became a full time position. And what's interesting is that that's very lucky. But at the same time, once I started teaching, I had this terrible, terrible case of imposter syndrome. Every Monday, I would go into work saying, "This is the week I'm going to get fired." And every Friday, I thought I was lucky because I was not yet fired. When you first start teaching, your educational toolbox is bare. You need to develop content knowledge. You have to develop classroom skills. You have to develop classroom management skills. And that takes a long time. So, to be honest, I wasn't a very good teacher my first year. And every single day, I was convinced I was going to be fired. I thought I was an imposter. At some point, they're going to catch on, they're going to realize it, they're going to get rid of me, as they probably should. It doesn't help the fact that I was 22. I got hired when I was 21. The school year starts, I'm 22. I'm closer in age to the kids I'm teaching than many of my peers, on the teaching staff. So all of this is happening. And every week that I teach, I have the feeling I'm going to be, you know, fired. But as the year goes on, I gain more and more confidence. My imposter syndrome starts to, dissipate. And then comes the Wednesday before spring break. And this was the day that I was convinced that I was going to be fired. What happened was I left the homeroom of a colleague right before homeroom started, and I walked out of the hallway, and there was a big crowd. And I just moved the kids aside, and I get in the hallway, and I realized that the reason there was a big crowd is because there was a girl fight. These two freshman girls, not very big, were fighting, and there was a crowd around them, and I'm standing there. And at this point, I say to myself, you know what, Steve, you're an adult. I was not an adult, but I'm 22. I'll pass for an adult. You should break this up. So these two girls, their hands are entangled in each other's hair and they're throwing punches. So I decide, I'll break this up. So I try to separate them by trying to untangle their hands from each other's hair. And now I'm tangled up with them. And the one girl kind of yanks the other girl suddenly to the floor. So she falls to the floor, but I'm tangled up with them. So now I also fall to the floor. So now there's a girl standing. They're still holding hair. There's a girl laying on the ground, and then there's me laying on the ground as well. I cannot tell you how happy I am that this is before the time of camera phones, because my career, my reputation would be over. So now the girl who's still standing starts trying to kick the girl on the ground. But she's not kicking the girl on the ground. She's kicking me. And so I have to stop her from kicking me. So I start kicking her. But I'm not kicking her. I'm not kicking a student. I'm trying to catch her feet with my feet before they hit me. And the whole time I'm saying, stop, stop. And I know in my brain I'm saying, stop, stop. But in reality, it probably was like, please, please stop. So there was a disconnect between what I was trying to say and what was actually in my brain. And as all this is happening, an actual adult shows up, a gym teacher, and they walk by and he grabs the girl that's standing and just pulls her away. And now I'm just laying next to this other girl. She stands up and she still wants to fight. And I'm like, how do I stop this girl? And another adult, thank God, shows up and just picks her up. And I swear the second gym teacher picked her up had a cup of coffee in one hand. And he didn't bat an eye, just picked her up and walked away. And I'm here, left in this crowd of students. My adrenaline's pumping, freaking out because I just attempted to break up a fight. I don't know if I did anything wrong or whether I did it right. I just know that I was really, really, really concerned that I was going to be fired. So I go to the office, I write it up, and I go to my classroom. Now, just happenstance, I had a scab on my hand, and during the fight, it came off. So I had a little blood coming off my finger. I had a Band-Aid on it. By fourth period, the rumor was that a girl bit my finger so badly that I needed stitches. So this is going around the school. I'm convinced I'm going to be fired. Then fifth period, there's a knock on my door, and it's the principal of the high school. Now, he's interrupting a class. He says, Steve, I need to see you in the hallway. I go in the hallway. I'm convinced I'm going to be fired. Convinced. My heart's pounding. And as I walk out, he looks at me and he says, hey, I heard you got a little bit of a scrap. And immediately, all this relief just pours over me. And I say, did I do anything wrong? He said, no, it was a fight. It happens. Don't worry about it. You wrote it up. Everything will be fine. And in that moment, I realized I was, first off, very lucky because I had this principal that supported me. I was very lucky because I had a job. But I was very lucky that I learned a very important lesson. It's to not try to break up a girl fight by yourself. So, and also, in any job, just fake it till you make it. You belong if you think you belong. And it took me a long time, but eventually I got over the imposter syndrome. And 16 years later, I still haven't been fired. I'm still not sure why, but I haven't been fired. Thank you very much.